Hello and welcome to Flying Fibers vendor session. Flying Fibers is a wool and lavender farm based in York County, Pennsylvania. My name is Irina Lawrence Mathias, and I am co-owner and second shepherdess in command. We are a mother-daughter team, so my mom, Jerry, started this business, oh man, over 20 years ago, and it's gone through many iterations, but the iteration that it is now is how we have been for about 15 of the 20 years. We have rare breed British sheep on our farm. We also grow about 400 to 450 lavender plants. And we manufacture our own yarns and sell them in our retail shop, as well as also carrying yarns from established United States companies like Brooklyn Tweed and also Kilbourne Woolens. And I'm just gonna spotlight myself. All right, there we go. So let's dig in. So as I mentioned, Flying Fibers has been around for over 20 years in various iterations, but we got our first sheep ever in 2009. So that was also the year that we opened up our brick and mortar store. We used to be in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and we were there for about 12 and a half years. And then we made the decision to build a very quaint cottage on our farm right next to the sheep pasture and the lavender fields. And we decided to move our retail shop here. So we absolutely love it. We've been here since the start of 2022. So we're coming up on 2.5 years in this location. And it's so lovely because when visitors come, they can see our rare breed Wensleydale, Leicester Longwool, and Shetland sheep right next to the parking lot. And then they walk in and they can see them out of the windows. It's an incredibly bucolic experience and people love it. So we have about 40 sheep and we have lots and lots of wool from them. So I'm going to start just quickly talking about our yarns that we have made from our flock of sheep. So we have some directly made from the sheep on our farm, and then we also do small batches that we call friends of the flock, or we have one that we just got back from the mill that we have to wash. It's called Timmy and Friends. So it comes from one of our sheep named Timmy, and then we combine it with a really nice local fleece that we get from other farmers. So we have the Shetland. We have two weights and sort of three colors of that right now. We have a whole bunch of Shetland going to the mill, and it should be back by like Rhinebeck time in October. So right now we have in our DK weight Shetland, we have a natural white from Curly, who's one of our rams. We have a Morit from Coco and Ginny Lee, who are two ewes on our farm. We also have this really beautiful sort of brownie gray from Shayla and Licorice, two of our black sheep on the farm. And then we have this sort of grayer brown from Chardonnay, who is a beautiful old girl that lives on our farm. So these are some really beautiful DK weights. They're all locally milled in Pennsylvania, and you get 225 yards to the DK weight skein of our flock yarn. So this is some really beautiful stuff. We keep all of our flock yarn naturally colored just so that you can sort of, soak in the beauty of the off the hoof yarn. And then we do also have a worsted weight natural white Shetland, and we have a sport weight Shetland that's also a natural white. So those are the Shetland yarns that we have right now from our flock. But we do, like I said, we have almost 40 sheep, and I would think that maybe, I think 25 of those, yeah, I think about 25 of those are all Shetlands. And so when we get all of our yarn back, it is like a beautiful, naturally colored rainbow. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And while I'm chatting, please feel free to turn on your mics and ask questions or put something in the chat. I'm sort of bouncing back and forth. I can keep my eye on it. I can answer any questions you may have. So that's the Shetland. Once again, really beautiful. My dad was born and raised in Yorkshire, England, which is why we do the British sheep breeds thing. And honestly, Shetlands are really great starter sheep. They're just hardy and they are like dogs. They follow us around the pasture. They're the best sort of pet you could expect. Um, so we also have our what we called like the friends of the flock, and we did a limited edition friends of the flock called Crayley Crew, which is 50% Shetland from our flock and 50% alpaca fleece from a farm down the way. And this is a worsted weight. It's 198 yards to the skein, and it comes in 4 natural shades. We have cream, which is a white Shetland mixed with a fawn alpaca. We have camel, which is a white and then a light brown Shetland that's mixed with a like a sorrel colored alpaca. Um, and then we have sweatshirt, which is 2 shades of gray, both in the Shetland fleece and the alpaca fleece. And then we have charcoal, which is our black Shetland mixed with a rose gray fleece. And they are so beautiful. They are so sumptuous and soft, and they are just really gorgeous skeins. So a customer of ours, Julie, just finished a really beautiful Thea Coleman pattern in Crayley Crew. She did the charcoal colorway, and I would highly recommend you go and check that out. We shared it on our Instagram at Flying Fibers, and you're gonna fall in love with it because I need to cast one on immediately because I just fell in love with it. So that's our Crayley Crew. And then we have another similar yarn that we put out at the same time as Crayley Crew called Friends of the Flock. And this is batch 3 of this. So we've been doing it. We had batch 1, which was like a llama blend. We did batch 2, which was pure alpaca. And now we have batch 3, which is 70% blue-faced Leicester and 30% white local alpaca. Also a worsted weight, 198 yards to the skein. And it is just scrumptious and soft. So this is really beautiful for next to skin soft items. And the stitch definition, because all of these yarns are a 3-ply, is really nice and beautiful. The blue-faced Leicester gives it a nice loft, and then the alpaca gives it this nice softness. So this is a really fun one too. So we talked about my Shetland yarns. We also have from our flock, we raise Wensleydales, North American Wensleydales, which was the first sheep breed we ever did. And it's what my mom fell in love with. And it's what we've been known for in the fiber industry for quite some time now. And so we have 2 shades of natural white DK weight. Sorry, not natural white. We have 2 shades of Wensleydale in a DK weight. We have our natural white and we have our natural black. And our natural white comes from Frankie and Aggie, their mother and daughter. And then our natural black, which in the Wensleydale, you can have varying shades within a fleece. So it comes from Rowan and Monica, and they both have some silver patches over like the saddle portion of their bodies, which is why it's not a dark black like with our Shetland, but more of like a very pretty sort of like silver brown gray. And so that are the 2 shades of Wensleydale DK that we have. And then we also raise Leicester long wools. Right now I have 2 weights available. I have a DK weight from Violet and Prim and Rami. And then I also have a 2-ply sport weight if you like to do lace objects, and it's really beautiful and it's a flat. So it's a flat fiber, so it shows off lace really well. And this is also from Violet and Prim. And this is really beautiful stuff as well. So you're probably like, Irina, this is great, but this is so much like white, brown, gray, black. And we hear you. So in 2016, we knew that we didn't want to dye all of our flock yarns. The sheep are beautiful. It's an amazing view to see all the different shades of natural colors in the pasture. And when we're working with it, it's gorgeous. I mean, just this is a beautiful display. But you also see some really fun colors behind me. And so we decided to manufacture a commercial line and hand dye it and have it spun to a similar specification as our flock yarns so that you can use them together. For example, like in the old port hat by Andrea Mowry. So the yarn, sorry, you can, the chickens are free range. So if you hear like, if you hear roosters crowing, that is why. So we had our yarn. Yorkshire Medley was our first commercial yarn that we custom manufactured, released in 2016, and it is a DK weight, hence why it can knit so nicely in Andrea Mowry's old port hat. The Yorkshire Medley is the berry color, and then our Leicester Longwool flock yarn in the DK weight is the white, and it knits up beautifully together. So it is a DK weight, 262 yards to the 100-gram skein, and it's our custom blend of 50/50 Wensleydale and blue-faced Leicester. We import the raw wool from England, and then we have it commercially spun in 500-pound batches, and we bring it back to our dye studio, which is just up the hill from our yarn shop and our sheep pasture, and we hand dye it all in beautiful colors. So we have one natural shade, and then we have 15 dyed colors. It is Maryland sheep and wool prep, so I'm missing one of our dyed colors because it's up in our inventory drying right now. But I will show you all of the other gorgeous shades that we do have. With my dad being born and raised in England, we love to give the colors names of places that are reminiscent to us when we're visiting family, or just something that just we saw while we were driving in England if we were visiting family, and we were like, that's beautiful, we need to capture this. So here are our two sort of rosy red shades. We have Meadow Rue and then we have Malton. Both are really beautiful. They knit up really nicely. These are hand dyed. They're kettle dyed, so you will get some natural variation in the skein, just dependent on color. So we have our two orange shades. We've got Grouse, which is like a true pumpkin orange, and then we have our Thornton, which is more of a rust. And these are all available on our online store, or we can do phone orders as well. And so Grouse and Thornton are really beautiful. We have two shades of yellow. We have our Busby Harvest, which is definitely more of an autumnal harvest color of gold. And then we have our bright Rothwell gold colorway, which is like a true sort of buttercup or sunshine yellow. And these are really beautiful, fun colors. We have three shades of green. We have our original green that we initially put out in 2016, More Shrub, which is just this true brilliant green. It has bits of yellow throughout as part of the dyeing process. And then we have this nice yellow spring green called Winnie Moore Hops. It's a very bright, very fun color. People love it. It's great because it can be sort of a, end of winter, pre-spring, like pop of color, or you can pair it with, something like Meadow Rue if you want to just go full spring. The world is your oyster with all of this. We also have Bracken, which is probably, it's our newest color that we released in 2019. And it's a really beautiful, like blue sort of toned Kelly green. So these are our greens. And then we have three blues, but like I said, one is up in the dye house. So we have our Whitby Shale, which is our light sort of powder blue. It's not quite neutral. It's really nice. We have North Sea, which is missing. It's a denim color. And then we have River-esque, which is this really beautiful inky slate color. And it's a really nice one. The River-esque is especially like special to me because my dad was born in Whitby, which is a seaside town in North Yorkshire. And the River Esk is what splits the two sides of Whitby, the east and the west side. And it's where everybody, all the fishing boats leave down the River Esk to get to the North Sea to go fishing, to get, food for the restaurants and the people there. So the River Esk is a popular color, but it also means a lot to me because of where, how we named it and where it's from. Um, and then we also have three purples. We have Ilkley Heather, which is just this really beautiful sort of like lilac-y color. We have Monkshood, which is a sort of more violet, ultraviolet color, deeper blue purple. And then we have Elderberry Jam, which is a really gorgeous berry color. It's not quite red, it's not quite violet. It just sort of sits in this really beautiful sort of in-between space. And it's a really great, really beautiful color. It's what actually I used as the contrast color in my old port hat, combined with our flock yarn. So you can sort of see how when it's put up against other colors, it sort of shifts. So the Wensleydale is really special to us, but we wanted people to feel as though the Wensleydale was like accessible to them, in the fact of sometimes it can feel a little bit abrasive if it's not spun correctly, and it's definitely not like a superwash merino style. It is a long wool, so it has really special properties that set it apart from other fine or medium grade wools. But we decided that because we have our pure, Leicester long wool and North American Wensleydale flock yarns, that maybe the Yorkshire Medley could be something just a little bit different. So not a pure Wensleydale, which is why we decided to add in blue-faced Leicester. There's the sheen and the drape from the Wensleydale, but then there is the loft and softness from the BFL. So you're probably thinking like, okay, other than brioche, what can I do with this? So the British say that the Wensleydale wears like iron and it's incredibly versatile. It's a 3-ply yarn, so once again, very round and very good for texture. So this is the Abeille shawl. It's Abeille. It means bee, like the honeybee in French. I was a French major in my undergrad years. And it's just, this is Abeille, and it takes 4 skeins total of our Yorkshire Medley. It's a bias shawl, and it's a mix of garter and then beautiful lace. And then it ends with this big swath of lace and then this really beautiful knit-on lace edging. It's a ton of fun. It's a huge shawl. It takes like 1,100 yards. And it's a really nice one because you can either sort of drape it over you traditional shawl style, or, if I wasn't wearing another scarf and a vest today, I also really like to put it sort of bandana style. If I'm looking for something like if I'm, standing in our booth at Rhinebeck and I want something really like warm and up close to my face without feeling heavy. But you can see even just how beautiful this texture is on the Abeille shawl, as well as the lace that's in it and how nicely that is showing off in the yarn. So that's a really fun pattern. Like I said, it just takes 4 skeins total, 2 skeins of color A, 2 skeins of color B. It's also good in just regular color work. I've got 2 color work samples here. This is Selby, and this was one of our in-house patterns as well. It's just takes 2 skeins total, so 1 of color A, 1 of color B, and it's just a fun in the round color work snood that you then graft together, and it's nice because it's double thick. And it just looks really nice. It's really great for winter because it sits close enough without feeling like you're getting strangled. And it's great because it only takes 2 skeins. So if you can sort of experiment with the yarn a little bit before you dive into a bigger project. But this is Selby. This is a really fun one. I want to make another version in some different colors. This one felt very Nordic to me, which was still good, but it was just, it's a fun one. So that's another one of our in-house patterns. We also work a lot with independent designers, one of them being Rachel Brockman. She has been published in Pom Pom Magazine, Laine Magazine. She's been in Interweave. She was the creative director at Universal Yarns in North Carolina for a while, but she's also local to us. She grew up not far from where our shop is now. And so she's an amazing friend and she's an amazing knitwear designer. And she loves working with long wools. So it's sort of this great thing. So this is the small size of the Clarke shawl. This is a sort of cabled and garter triangle shawl that she designed for us in Yorkshire Medley. It comes in 2 sizes. This is the smaller size. It takes 3 skeins of Yorkshire Medley, and then she has a larger 5 skein size. So I knit this in Thornton, and it's nice because you can sort of see the variation of the kettle dyeing, but it doesn't feel overwhelming. So this is Clarke and I love it. And it was actually named for Lake Clarke, which is we're only a mile from the Susquehanna River where we are. So it's always nice for people to go down to the river to just check out the views while, when they're coming, back from our shop. And the part of the river that we're at is called Lake Clarke because it's technically a man-made lake based off of the dams that are on either side of like the north and then the south of the river. So that was a really special one. She also just released a new cowl in January called the Latta cowl. And this is knit in Yorkshire Medley as well. And it's this really beautiful cable pattern with these really fun sort of crocheted applied ridges in the center. And it's a really nice cowl. I'll show you how I wear it. It takes 2 skeins of your main color, and then it just takes a few, 20 yards of your contrast color. We do have kits for it in our online store. Um, but it's just a really nice one. It doesn't sit too low, and it's just a really sort of fun project. You cast it on flat and then you join it in the round at a point, and then you apply your crochet edges after it's blocked. So this is also a really beautiful one in our Yorkshire Medley yarn. But of course, any of the patterns that I showed that are made in Yorkshire Medley can also either use our flock yarn together in it or just for the whole thing. So because it's a really beautiful DK weight yarn. And then finally, another really great example of how the colors work with kettle dyeing. This is another Rachel pattern. This is Swatara, and it uses 3 colors of our Yorkshire Medley. It uses bracken as the main color, and our sample knitter did not alternate. So this shows just our kettle dye in its full glory. And then it uses Meadow Rue and River-esque. So again, a really beautiful pattern. You get the sheen you can see there of the Wensleydale, but it's still loft and soft from the BFL. So that is our Yorkshire Medley yarn. Does anybody have any questions before I hop into our next yarn? I'm just checking the time here. Okay. So we decided, we released Yorkshire Medley in 2016. We released Yorkshire Medley Light, which is our fingering weight version, in 2020. We have 8 colors of that currently. I just didn't grab them because I don't have any big samples at this time of it. So we decided though that we knew we wanted to put out another yarn, another weight, but maybe not necessarily the same content makeup as our Yorkshire Medley lines. So we decided to experiment with another rare breed that's not necessarily truly British, but it's from like the British Isle area, or I guess English, I should say. So we created Seadale and released it in 2021. It is a blend of Wensleydale, because that's our sheep, Wensleydale and Manx Lockton. Manx Lockton is a primitive breed from the Isle of Man, so it comes from the between Scotland and Ireland. And Manx Lockton are naturally moret brown, so the sheep themselves are like this color, and then we blend it with the natural white Wensleydale, and we get this really beautiful khaki sort of coffee with cream color as our natural base. So it's a worsted weight, 198 yards to the skein, and we have our natural weight, which our natural color, which is Cuppa. We have our red, which is Hawthorn. We have our orange, which is Ginger Biscuit. We've got our yellow, which is Ragwort Bloom. We have our green, which is Hedgerow. We've got a blue, which is Sea Isle. And then we have our purple color, which is Teasel. And all of these colors just are so beautiful and have a ton of depth. to them because the base is a sort of khaki color to begin with, and it just makes for a really beautiful colorway overall. So I'm gonna show you some samples. It does really nicely with texture. This is Fields of Gold by Isabella Clarke, and this is knit up in the Cuppa colorway of Seadale. It's got this really beautiful textured front with these fun little sort of wheat sections here, and it knits up so beautifully. So it does have a good amount of stitch definition because the Manx Locked-In is definitely like a loftier fiber. So that's a really beautiful sample. We also have sorry, I'm getting turned around. It also does really beautifully in color work. So this is Goldwing by Jennifer Steingass, and this is Ragwort Bloom at the top and then Sea Isle down on the body of the sweater. And same thing, no alternating on this, so you can see how the kettle dyed fabric looks really lovely. You know, it gives it a bit of interest in the stockinette, but it doesn't take away from the actual color work part of the garment. So that's really beautiful. And then it was really exciting. Rachel, again, in Laine magazine issue 16, she got a pattern accepted into that magazine issue. And so Solitaire, which is designed and published in Laine magazine by Rachel in our Seadale yarn, was born. And Rachel just has such a way with garment design. So Solitaire is really beautiful because it has this sort of textured hem section, and then you sort of work your way up. You do these really beautiful decreases and some short rows to get your shaping, and then you sort of pick up and you knit your sleeves down. And it's an almost sort of traditional Gansey inspired, beautiful split hem sweater. And that's in Laine magazine issue 16. And it's, like I said, knit and designed in our Seadale, which was super, super exciting, because they are sort of like an international, they are an international magazine. So we were super happy for Rachel and felt super honored that our yarn was included. So she also, when we first released Seadale, she designed this really beautiful one skein Seadale hat, with this really beautiful palm, and it just is a great way to try the yarn if you're unsure of if you are, you know, want it or not, because all of our yarns are natural. They are not super washed, so there's a little bit of, you know, there's a tactile thing there. But they're really beautiful. They're durable. They're essentially, we make them, and they're very special because they help preserve rare breed sheep. And we love what we do. So, yeah, that is sort of my spiel. This one was fast and furious compared to the last time I did it because we only have 30 minutes. So I've got 2 minutes left in my session. I'm just going to pop the information into the chat again. Did anybody have any questions, or did anybody want to see any of the samples again up close? Questions about pattern recommendations, anything at all? Nope, I'm not seeing anything pop up. You can either put it in the chat, or you can you can open up your microphone. You can unmute your microphone. So you can find all of this and more on our online store. Like I said, we are a full service yarn shop. So we have all of the Laine magazine publications. We carry Chalgoon needles. We have gifts and goods made from our lavender plants. We have a whole bunch of stuff in our online store. If you want to see us in person, we are in York County, Pennsylvania. Our shop is open 4 days a week. You can also see us at festivals. So we are obviously do the Vogue live virtuals, but you can also find us at Maryland Sheep and Wool. And we also go to Shenandoah Valley Fiber Festival in Berryville, Virginia in September. And then we're also vendors at the New York State Sheep and Wool Festival in Rhinebeck, New York. So there's lots of places to find us, as well as on social media. You can find us at Flying Fibers on Facebook and Instagram and Threads, TikTok, and also Patreon. So there is a bunch of ways to find us, but I do appreciate you all hanging out with me on this Friday afternoon. It's a beautiful Friday here. It's rainy, so it's a great day to wear wool. And I thank you all kindly for your time. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out, or you can send us an email, a direct message on any social media sites. And yeah, thank you for listening to me. And thank you for learning all about our yarn, our farm, and the wool sheep that we raise. Bye, guys. Have a great rest of your day.